I'd like to thank Bill Jones for reading today and Gary Lynn Floyd and the CSL music team for our beautiful music. We're in week 11 of our series on This Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes. And we covered a lot of ground so far, but remember, they're all independent. I talked last week about being a part of a team that was eradicating the fear germ. So today, I want to talk about how to be alive in spirit, to be awake to all spirit has to offer to us, and aware of our own spirituality. Our topic, alive, awake, aware. So your question for the week is this: what is the one choice that you can make today to stay alive in your spirituality, to be awake to the path that is before you, and aware of all you can accept to have your fabulous heaven here on earth? One more time. What is the one choice you can make today to stay alive in your spirituality, awake to the path before you, and aware of all you can accept to have your fabulous heaven on earth? Our topic is alive, awake, aware, and I want to separate out those words and begin with alive. What does it mean to be alive and conscious in spirit? One of the definitions of alive is knowing or realizing the existence of something. So when we say alive in spirit, it's about realizing the existence of spirit within us. I was thinking a couple weeks ago about my childhood and all the beautiful coral reefs I used to see off the coast of Florida. We used to take these glass-bottom boats out of St. Petersburg, and a while back, I literally received a download about how our spirituality is a lot like coral reefs. So let's talk a little bit about those reefs. There are relatively few species that are responsible for building the framework of a reef on which all the other plants and animals take refuge. And there has to be a structure for a coral reef to exist, which is why we so often see many reefs around sunken boats. Both coral and algae are able to extract calcium and bicarbonate from seawater, and they combine them into a substance that's called limestone, which is essential for constructing the skeleton of a reef. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to give you a biology lesson about coral reefs, but many people are not aware that all the things on a reef are actually alive, animals that are living on that reef. And it's like our spirituality. With spirituality, we also need a structure to keep it alive. For some people, that structure is a community, such as our center. And for others, it's spiritual practices that are regular and persistent. Others, like myself, and maybe like you, use a combination of both of those things. In Love and Law, Ernest Holmes wrote, "To become alive and build the greatest lives, we must become something more, something worthwhile. There is not a day in my life that goes by that I do not take the time to unify myself in my consciousness with big things. To think I am one with all activities, all industries, all commerce, etc. And just feel that thought reaching out and encompassing the largest fields of activity of the world. Then you are one with the infinite stars in the heavens, and that is to see things. It is that in our mental attitude that decides what we are to become, and nothing else." So how do we unify ourselves with big things? Well, when you see a coral reef, it looks like one big plant, but everything is actually moving and growing. Think about all the animals and plants that make up that reef. Now, some really latch on. The coral and the algae, They are the bases of the structure. And they shed their skeletons and recreate themselves, basically becoming new again, much like we have to shed things that aren't working for us and move to a higher level of consciousness in our own spirituality. Nona Brooks wrote, "What does it mean to be alive? It means that infinite love is expressing as form." Now, if you've ever seen a coral reef in its full beauty, you would say that it is very much alive, very much expressing as form. Our meditation song today, as well as our opening song, All That I Am, were songs that remind us to be all that we can be, to allow Spirit to dwell in us, to be a part of that sacred plan, to rely on Spirit to support us, and to be the basics of who we are. Do you think that you can rely on Spirit and allow Spirit to be the basis of who you are? Dr. Michael Beckwith, in his 40-day Mind Fast Soul Feast, wrote this: "God has a gift to give the world as you, beyond what your surface mentality may sometimes see. So when you commit to discovering and expressing your faculty of divine creativity, what emerges is living and expressing from a deeper dimension of your being. This is real aliveness." So I suppose the question would be, are you willing to be the gift God is giving to the world as you? Are you willing to commit to discovering your own divine creativity so that you can be really alive? Are you willing to be a part of that perfect whole that is divinity, that is the oneness of life, that's expressing through you as you? We become alive by attaching ourselves to communities, by performing our spiritual practices on a regular basis, and getting together with others who give us stability in our spirituality. So, knowing that, how can we stay awake to our growth? In the Bible, in Thessalonians 5:6, we read this: "So then let us not sleep as others do, but let us keep awake and be sober." Awake means to cease sleeping, to become aroused or active again, and to become conscious or aware of something. So to be awake in spirit means to become consciously aware of the Spirit in ourselves. We become part of the whole, part of that divine order in the world, part of that one life that's God's life and that's our life. And it's up to you. Ernest Holmes wrote this: "We try to awaken man to an inherent divinity and perfection which is in every living soul. Our whole process is an awakening. The spiritual nature never sleeps, and something in you and in me senses this imprisoned splendor." I can only imagine that awakening to the divinity and perfection in my soul, to that sense of imprisoned splendor. How about you? What do you believe is sleeping in you and unaware of the perfection that you are? Yes, the perfection that you are. Let's go back to our reefs for just a minute. Did you know that coral reefs flourish even though they're surrounded by ocean waters that provide very few nutrients? They flourish because each part of the reef contributes. Some deposit skeletons to keep the reef firmly rooted, while others move in and out and bring what is needed for the whole reef to thrive. So when we're alive in spirit, we are conscious of being a part of something bigger than we are. Conscious of being awake to the knowing that everything we need is right where we are, that we can thrive no matter what. And also that what we have to offer matters and it is of value. Ernest Holmes in The Science of Mind wrote, "The universe is a spiritual system impregnated with divine ideas and peopled with spiritual forms. The ideas of God are perfect laws on their way to producing complete and perfect effects. The universe is alive, conscious, awake, and aware. It is love and life. It is law and order. It is a cosmos." I know that I want to be a part of that spiritual system which is alive, awake, and aware. That system that is love and life. And it's important for us to be aware as well that each part of that one life is complete, perfect, and whole. And like the coral reefs, each of us play our own role in producing exactly what is required for life to thrive. We each play our own role for life to thrive. So now that we know that we are alive with spirit and awake to spirit, it's time to become aware of how spirit shows up as each of us on this planet. Aware is defined as having or showing realization, perception, or knowledge. So being aware in spirit means that we have a realization or knowledge of who we are, of how spirit is in us, and what it is that is our part of the ecosystem of spirituality. In a reef, some animals just swim through or they use the reef for cover. I know there have been times in my life when I was just swimming through. Times when I wasn't truly aware of spirit in my life, yet I was using my spirituality to help me along, perhaps even relying on my spirituality to make it over some bump in the road on my journey of life. I can imagine that most of you could relate to that. And in a reef, there are some animals that attach and anchor themselves to become rooted to the reef. As we become more alive and awake, we can become more aware of how being rooted in our spirituality, like having spiritual practices that are a part of our daily life, helps us to find our joy and our freedom and our anchor of who we have come here to be. Spiritual muscles require practice for us to make progress. And that practice sometimes requires us to become rooted in our spirituality. In my own life, the times that I was swimming through were times like when my son died and shortly thereafter my mama died. I was swimming through all the beauty of spirituality, not truly aware of all of it, yet noticing enough to keep me still somewhat anchored in my faith. It was actually practitioner training and even ministry that helped me to truly become rooted. And I know for me, that was my path. I'm curious what your path to being truly rooted in spirituality might look like. And you know, sometimes we might think we're rooted and then we slightly maybe get off course and then we reroot ourselves, and that's perfectly okay. What are the catalysts for you to anchor yourself in spirituality rather than just swimming through? Ralph Waldo Emerson, in Tune with the Infinite, wrote these words: Within yourself lies the cause of whatever enters into your life. To come into the full realization of your own awakened interior powers is to be able to condition your life in exact accord with what you would have it. What would it mean for you to condition your life in exact accord with what you would have it to be? What might it take for you to be fully aware of your spirituality? What shifts might you make to condition your life so you are awakened to the power within you that is spirit? What would it take for you to truly anchor yourself in your spirituality? Chris Michaels, in his Your Soul's Assignment, put it this way: the kingdom of heaven is a state of consciousness, of self-awareness. It is a place we arrive at in consciousness when we are aware of our oneness with life or with spirit. It is that awareness of our oneness with life and with spirit that truly is a lifetime journey. It's not something that happens once and is done. Once and done is not the way it works. We get glimpses of it, and I know for me, at times it seems very sustainable, sometimes for long periods of time, but still not totally integrated so that it's second nature. And it's most definitely a journey worth embarking on. So in summary, how might you remember to be alive, awake, and aware in spirit? Well, remind yourself to realize the existence of spirit in you. Be a part of a structure that keeps your spirituality alive. Unify yourself with big things and shed what isn't working. Be the gift God gave to the world as you. Be consciously awake to spirit in you. Awaken your imprisoned splendor. See your own perfection. Be a part of something bigger than you are. Know that all you need is right where you are. And know who you are and how spirit lives in you. Condition your life in accord with what you want. And make your spiritual practices a priority. That's the key. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so easily and willingly make the choice today to stay alive in my spirituality, to awake to the path before me, and to be aware of all I can accept to have my fabulous heaven on earth? And challenge yourself this week to remember those 3 A's: alive, awake, and aware. Build your own beautiful reef of spirituality. Observe yourself and others this week, and just notice when you're just swimming through or when you're truly deeply rooted in spirit. Check in a couple times a day and remind yourself to choose to be alive, awake, and aware of your spirituality. Let's pray. We take a deep, nourishing breath. And we just know that spirit is indeed alive. The spirit that is love and joy and laughter and freedom and safety and peace and grace. all of the Spirit that is part of the divine and that lives in each of us. We are each one with that divine. And what I know to be the truth is that we are each becoming aware of how we show up on this planet, bringing our spirituality to life, being alive in spirit, and awakening to that imprisoned splendor that lives right within us, that can have us living a life that's filled with joy and love and laughter. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that each of you have decided to join us today, to go down this journey with us together in community. And I am grateful that I am a part of this community, that I have been called here to be the spiritual leader for the center. And I love my life, for which I am extremely in gratitude. So it's from all of that gratitude that I release my word into the law of mind, spirit, and action, knowing the truth that right where we are, the divine is saying, yes. We've asked, it's given. The answer is always yes. So I can just let it be, know it's done, say amen. So let's affirm it together. And so it is. I want to thank everyone that continues to contribute. And also, if you are touched by these services, please think about contributing financially to our community so that we can continue to stay alive and awake and part of this community. Thank you again, and enjoy our offertory song.